day 4 of my classes. I finally got this up a little bit higher, so I think it's better. It's a better angle than I've had. I don't know why I didn't think of that before, but so I'm gonna try to get through this in a timely manner because I have homework and stuff. This morning I was so exhausted. I've been sleeping fine, that's not it. It's just all the homework, all the book readings, and knowing that we've had this group presentation looming, just a lot. It's just been a lot on my mind, I guess. And so I think there was like 12 books total. It's like 6 books for each class. And so today, I didn't get the book out. Hold on. So today we went over Living into Community, Christine Pohl, Cultivating Practices That Sustain Us. And only had a page and a half of notes today, so this isn't going to be too awful bad. Let's just go into this. So what we talked about mostly was an asset-based community. There's a book on that, and there's a book called Asset-Based Community Development. So it's about building community from the inside out rather than the outside in. The question that they pose is, what assets does the community already have that we can use? So if a community is not doing well, and for whatever reason, tons of reasons, and some outside, I don't know, nonprofit or something wants to come in there and, fix it. A lot of times when they come from the outside, it doesn't work. There's all kinds of reasons why. I mean, you'd have to read these books to figure that out, but there's all kinds of reasons why that hasn't worked in the past. So that's how it used to happen, and people were telling stories of different things, and so what these guys that wrote this book have figured out is that you need to be sitting down with those in the community and finding out exactly what they think their problems are. Because when you look from the outside in, you might think such and such and such and such is what they need, because that's what it looks like, when it could be something entirely different. And then also all the resources and assets that the community already has, rather than looking at the community as being in a deficit and looking at all of the things they don't have. So it's a new strategy. Every community has some kind of assets, they'll have land, buildings, different things, maybe abandoned buildings. You just have to look around and see what assets does a community have. Does it have lakes? Does it have this? And people within the community can be assets also. Maybe it has 4 bakers and different things, and then strategize that way in the things that are already there, and then work that way from the inside out to solve the problem. And you'll have more chance of having success that way, because it needs to come from the people. So if it comes from an outside source all the time, then the people don't really have a hand in it. They can't really feel proud or take ownership of it, because someone just came in and fixed everything. But if it's themselves that are contributing in some way, then it's going to be able to be sustained. There's this institute called the ABCD Institute from DePaul University, and then some guy had one of his students had a way to, or maybe it's the institute that has a way to create your own asset map. And then there's a commentary on institutions. So we need to ask ourselves, what does it mean to help? It could be good or bad. People have to change for themselves, and it needs to do no harm. So, of course, throughout history, we know all the times that helping has done harm, obliterated communities or people groups, or, taking people's land, so it has to be done in a way as to not be harmful to those that are already there. What makes happiness possible? I don't know where we were going with that. It was something about Harvard had done a study on that. I don't remember what the answer to that was. I would like to know. I might have to research that one. So it leads into relationships and community. Happiness leads into relationships and the community, not the opposite. So what makes happiness possible? Okay, I remember now. It was relationships and community. It was, I don't remember the specific thing they said, but it's not, having a lot of money and being alone. And in the end, that does not lead to happiness. So a lot of people are kind of on that track, it's like, well, I'm out here doing all of this, but I'm not building any relationships, and really, and I've realized this in my own life, it's having people in your life, whether it be friends, of course family, but friends and acquaintances and whatever, and maybe different groups that you're involved in, Bible studies and things. That is what creates relationships, and that's what creates your community. So you can have your own personal community because you might be involved in some kind of sports club or something that I'm not involved in. So then I have my own little community of people, hopefully a women's group and friends and church, and so that's all a community. But it's all about relationships, and it's all about people. So people in your life are very important. Okay, so there are 4 harms. Okay, so he showed a TED Talk by a guy named Cormac Russell. And these are 4 harms that are unintended, but they are still harms. So when you define people by their problems, and this is about the communities, right? And then you set up all these things to fix it, but the money doesn't really go to the people that are in need. It goes to the people that are working in these, jobs or whatever to fix the problem. So the money doesn't actually get where it needs to go. It disempowers the people in the community. This is if you just come from the outside in. And then neighborhoods start to believe that they need to be rescued from someone on the outside. That's something that I've lived in my personal life. I don't want to be in a place where someone has to come in and rescue me, ever again in my life. That's just not something that I want for myself. I want to know that I'm able to, step up on my own. There's a song with some lyrics. What are those lyrics? That I'll be standing on my own 2 feet. I think that's Adele, Turning Tables. But I will stand on my own 2 feet, and that's how people feel. They don't want to, it's not saying that, someone can't ever help them or anything like that, but people want to be able to do for themselves and feel proud about that. Proud of themselves, So, there are 6 building blocks. You begin to look at what's strong. You find the skills of the local residents. And then you want to empower them as being a citizen at the center of their community. So we were talking about elderly people, how we just take them, we put them in a home with other elderly people, but that has not actually created these communities that we thought it would. People are still lonely in the nursing home. Trust me, I've seen it. So there needs to be a way to connect them to their community. There's a book called When Helping Hurts, someone brought up. And then this quote, where solutions already exist within the community itself. So we need to explore all of those things and find the solutions within the community. The bottom-up approach. Here in the Western, world, I guess, we are obsessed with this top-down approach. A lot of times it doesn't work because the person at the top is so disconnected from the person at the bottom, and there's no way, never the two shall meet. It's like this person can't even access this person at the top. There's just no way. And even if they do, they're maybe not listen to them. So this top-down approach does not, it's maybe it's not the best, but that's how everything works, literally, in organization I'm in, pretty much everywhere. So I don't know if, everyone, if this idea will permeate to that extent to where we actually change it, I don't know, but it's nice that it's at least being talked about. So the community has assets, I already talked about. They have individuals, associations, institutions, land, and physical environment. There's something about the exchange, so not just financial, but any kind of exchange within the community. And then the culture and stories, that is six building blocks. Okay. People experience liberation when they experience change from themselves. So we need to be lifelong learners. And then somebody made a question. We had a break, and then we came back from break. Somebody made a question about the dissertation. So we spent a lot of time talking about our dissertations because we found out that our professor, who is the director of the doctoral program, he is stepping down from that, and so our next class is in January. He's no longer going to be the director. So we're all kind of sad about that because we think he's great and we want him to be the director. And since he won't be, we're not sure we'll even have classes with him again. And he is so good. I would put him in the top 5 of professors of mine of all time. He's just, I don't know, his style is just, he's just a good professor. And so we're all kind of sad we may not have him again. He's not really sure. He might teach one class, but it might be like a year from now. So there's a new director. They brought him in and we met him, and he's pretty much going to be doing the classes. So we thought that Jim would be taking us through, the whole thing and maybe be involved in our dissertations, but we don't know what's going to happen now. But so he was saying the dissertation must be a clear argument. He was telling us how many pages to have in each chapter and just different things because he has a PhD, so he's a researcher and he's a church historian, and so he's written many things, and he's actually taking off. He's going on research leave in the spring. So I think that's why one of the reasons he's stepping down, because he has like 2 books in the works right now, and he has deadlines with these books. So I think he's just wanting to write and all that. So he's really good at, telling us what we need to do for the dissertation, because this is what he does. And then our committee is really going to be our advisor, and the second reader, that will pretty much be our committee. And then we will go before several people when we defend our dissertation. We'll have a year to write it. It's 120 to 150 pages, so that's basically a book. And you're just going to have to go through all these different hoops and everything to write this dissertation. So everybody's like, are we going to be able to do this? And how do we do this? And what idea do we come up with? And blah, blah, blah. So then there's this website. You can go and see other SMU students, what they've written on. Okay. And he said, treat it like a part-time job that whole year. That's our third year, because the first 2 years we have classes every 6 months for 2 years, and then the third year is all virtual. You meet with your advisor, you figure out what you're going to write on, and you take a year to write it. So the book, okay, so back to the book. We tend to use language from other disciplines and apply them to the church. So that was a problem. And all the pastors in the class were like, yes, we do that. That's not working. You know, churches are their own thing. Having a church, having an organization, yes, there are similarities, but there are a lot of things that are specifically unique to churches. So they were saying we need to have, you know, our own language, blah, blah. Let's see. They are not adequate. That language is not adequate. Then there was a lot of quotes. Okay, page 8. Let's see if I can find a quote on page 8. Oh. The church is the primary presence of God's activity in the world. As we pay attention to what it means to be the church, we create an alternative community to the society of the world. This new community, the embodied experience of God's kingdom, will draw people into itself and nurture them in the faith. In this sense, the church and its life in the world will become the new apologetic. Interesting. Okay. And we need to look at the church through the lens of practical theology. Okay, there's a quote on page 9 to 10. It's going to be hard to find. Okay, combined with biblical study. Wait a minute. Attention to the... it might help if I put my glasses on. Attention to the resources of theological and moral tradition and discussions of several books. The essays and discussions opened up wonderful conversations and helped us from a community of wisdom and encouragement. We did not try to solve the problems described in some of the brief essays, but used the accounts as windows into understanding how various practices and their deformations interacted. The stories helped us to see how contextual factors strengthened or undermined practices and what redemptive responses to failure might look like. I don't think that was the quote that he had here, but I really don't know where that quote is. Apologize. I mean, I know it's on these pages, but anyway, okay, moving on. Wow, we only have this much left, guys. The focus should be on building relationships, which are a means of grace and truth. Okay, so then apparently Pohl has written several books, and she always speaks about hospitality. So hospitality was one of her things in here also. And so we titled this Hospitality and Grace. Another challenge to recovering, blah, blah. Okay. This is a quote, and I didn't write down what page it's on. ... Strong orientation, and explains an efficiency. If we are going to build in a new way, we have to do new things. She talks about risk and resistance. So cultures don't really want to change, and so when you're wanting to change things, you have to take some risks. So that's basically what we went over today on day 4. And then he let us out early because, we had much more discussion. I think, we were there for 3 hours in the discussion. And he let us out because our group presentations are tomorrow. So that's our last lecture with him this morning. And we all have presentations. So there's 4 groups. and he wanted to make sure to give us enough time to prep for those. So we were all really happy because we just immediately went into our groups. We stayed there for about an hour. So ours is a PowerPoint. I'm pretty sure most of them are doing PowerPoints, because how else are you going to do it? But so we went over all the slides. I think we have 50 slides in our presentation. So then I have the part that I have, which I actually need to look up, is from this book. Is the so we did. I don't even know where to look in here actually. Oh yes, I do. So I think this is a book we talked about yesterday. Yes, and so it's that little cycle chart where you diagnose the problem, you interpret the problem, and then you intervene in the problem. So my part in the presentation is the interpretation part. So the girl in our group, she always has to get home as quick as possible because she has small children. I guess she went to work, or I don't know where she went, but so she left after that hour. So I asked my other group mate, who doesn't have a car because he's here from Malaysia. I asked him, because I've been giving him rides. So the first day that I don't know how we ended up in the same group, because they just went numbers and we ended up with the same number. And he had all these bags he was carrying, and I'm like, what? I'm like, and he goes, yeah, this is my breakfast, I think, for the next 4 days. He bought all these bagels or something. And he goes, yeah, I've got them, and hopefully I can hang on to these for the next 30 minutes while I walk home. And I said, you're walking home? He goes, yes. He said, yeah, I don't have a car. Like, he just flew in Sunday night right before class started Monday morning. So he got an Uber from the airport to his Airbnb, and then he made sure the Airbnb was close to campus, but it wasn't as close as he thought. It still was a 30-minute walk. So I said, oh, I get it, you don't have a car, blah, blah, blah. I said, let me just give you a ride. I mean, it's like 90 degrees outside and everything. And he had walked, so the first day he walked to class. So then I was able to give him a ride that afternoon, and I found out I had not been to my Airbnb yet because I drove in that morning, so I hadn't even checked in. So this is after class. So I drop him off, and I find out my Airbnb is like 2 streets over. So it was just so convenient. So I said to him when I dropped him off, I said, why don't I just pick you up in the morning? I mean, it makes sense. You're like right on the way to school. I mean, it's not gonna take me out of the way or anything. He said, oh, that would be lovely. Thank you so much, blah, blah. So I've been giving him a ride every day to and from. So when we did that hour of the slides, and I said, well, why don't we go to, do you want to go to like Barnes & Noble and, hang out there and kind of work on this some more instead of going back to our Airbnbs, because we've been talking about how it's kind of lonely. Like, we're both used to being in houses with lots of people around. Like, his wife and kids did not come. They're back home. So he's like, I am not used to having this much quiet, for 10 hours or whatever. I said, yeah, me too. Let's go to Barnes & Noble. So we went to Barnes & Noble, and we were there for a couple hours, and we worked on our presentation. I think he got his done, I got mine done. But there's a few little things that I need to look at. So mine is the interpretation. What we chose is people that have been hurt by the church, and why, and come up with a solution for that. So that's what our whole presentation is on. And so we all collaborated on it. He's doing most of the PowerPoint. She's doing like the welcome and the diagnosis thing. I'm doing the interpretation, and then we all came up with the idea of having these not healing, but like restorative services for people that were been traumatized by the church, trauma, whatever, sensitive services. Came up with a series of them, and so we're going to take our class through one of the services because we only have 30 to 40 minutes. We can't do the whole thing, so we're going to do the first half. She is going to take the welcome. I'm going to do the prayer. He's going to do the song because he's in pastoral music, and so we will all sing. So the whole class is going to sing. I think we picked Great is Thy Faithfulness, which is a hymn. We thought that would be a good healing song. And then after that, he is going to go into the rest of the whole, how we're doing the services, what they are, and the healing stuff. So then we found out this morning that we are the first group because our number was 1. So we have to go first, which is actually good because that way we can get our portion over with and sit back and watch the rest of the groups. So we are going in early tomorrow, so I have to pick him up early, and then she will meet us there, and then we're going to get there at 8. Our classes have been at 8:30. We're going to get there at 8 so we can make sure everything's set up and and do this presentation. So mine is mostly so some of the bullet points are on the slides, but I had to write out all the things that I'm going to say for the presentation that's in between the bullet points. So that I'm going to have pulled up on my, I don't know if I want to do my computer or not. I might just take my iPad. And so tomorrow's our presentation, and then so we have no lectures. It's all group presentations tomorrow. And then that's the end of class. So I think he's going to let us out as soon as those presentations are over. I think it's going to take about 3 hours or more to do those. So we'll be out by lunchtime, and so I'm just going to drive straight home, and I'll probably do a video in the car about how it went on my way home, because that'll be my day 5. So I'll give you an update tomorrow on how that went. So let's leave it at this. It's almost 30 minutes, and you guys take care, and I'll see you tomorrow on the next one. Hello everyone, it's Chaplain April. I'm done with day 5. Class is over. So we did our group presentations today. Sorry, this is the so I'm just gonna have to lean over. But so group presentations went really well. So one of the presentations was about this disaffiliation from the denomination that the Methodist Church is going through right now. And I already knew about that because I just know people in the Methodist Church. I'd heard about it a lot. Sometimes my patients will talk about it that are Methodist. But it's a huge thing. They have lots of churches that are just leaving because of, and one of the things the presentation talked about was reasons why, and it's because the Methodist Church is taking a more liberal stance right now with their theology, and so the conservative, members don't like that, and they just, it's a church split. It's just one of those big church splits that have been happening since, the church started. So did a project. It was called Project Pentecost. And so it was this whole community project having to do with that book that we read on, or the session that we did on the asset-based community. So they came up with ideas of why, they found all these assets in the community, and they just came up with this whole program that they were going to implement in this, fictional church. And so that was really cool. They talked about how they have a lot of ethnic groups in that community, and they had all these different ways they were going to be a church that was aware and inviting these groups to join. So they had these iPads that they were going to give out to people that spoke different languages, and that would have an app on them, a language app on them, and certain things that they were going to do. And then the last group, they called it an island church, I think. And so it was all about Gen Zs and how to get them involved. And they wanted to do like esports, which I told them, my youngest would be all over that because he's into esports. And there was this conversation about how with the adaptive leadership thing, the church is way behind, because one of the main things that the younger people don't like is this contemporary service that was designed for the younger people. But this was 20, 30 years ago. So now all the churches have this contemporary service, but a lot of the Gen Zers don't even like it. So we're like back to square one. They actually like high church better. A lot of the Gen Zers like the high church, the hymnals or the hymns, and more quiet music. And my kids even said that, and they kind of really shocked me, because I've been taking them to a church that has contemporary worship, because I thought that would be what they would like. Turns out they don't like it. So that threw me for a loop. And just all these different things. One thing they were going to do is partner with different programs in the community, like the food banks and clothing places where people can get free things for free, and to where it's not just an exchange, you come in and get it and leave, but some kind of ministry there, and this whole thing. So the group presentations were 30 to 40 minutes each.